I'm going to be doing a video talking about my piercings. I know I have a video where I briefly talked about my piercings. I didn't go too much in depth about them. But my first piercings were my earlobes that I have on both sides. Got them done when I was 17, and then I had them for about 6 weeks, and then I think it was about 6 weeks, maybe it was 4, but I think I took them out a little bit too early and got a little bit infected. At first you couldn't really tell. They seemed fine. I was able to wear earrings for a while and stuff, and then I ended up moving, and when I moved, my ear infection ended up getting a little bit worse. You could see that they were getting red, like huge, and they were red, and they were really painful to put in earrings. Like I couldn't even wear them, so I just stopped wearing earrings, and then I let them close up. And then I think I was probably I think I was in my early 20s when I had them re-pierced again. I wanted to be able to wear earrings, so I redid them, redone, and had them ever since. And my other first actual piercing, besides ears, was my nose. Had that pierced since I was 18. Actually, it goes up, I don't know, bad lighting, I don't know if you'll be able to see, but dark skin. But there is a dark spot right around there, and that is from my piercing when I first had it. I had one, it was said it was about maybe that tall, but it was really big, thick one when I first started out, and so that's why there is that discoloration there. Because after that I switched to smaller studs, which were the L-shaped ones. I switched, and when I switched, they were a thinner bar going in, so my hole kind of closed up around that. So there's that. And I've worn L-shaped studs for a long time, but I've had rings in for about I'm gonna say maybe 3 years now that I switched to this. It's a lot easier. I don't have to worry about it getting caught on anything or it getting stuck. It doesn't really bother me at all. It's easy to change if I want to. I have this one is a black one in now, but I usually change colors. I have blue, and there's silver. I think they only cost me about like maybe $5, like $3 for one, I think. Not all that expensive. And it wasn't really too painful when I had it done. It was quick, it was easy. I did have a little bit of bleeding afterwards, but that's kind of pretty much normal to be expected and whatnot. And the pain didn't really last like days or anything. It was just, like a really sharp pinch, and it hurt and it was sore. I did have a few instances where my stud kind of was popping out a little bit, but that was just because it was in the healing process and everything. But other than that, I didn't have any infections or any redness or any major pain or anything like that after it healed. I think it took me about, I want to say at least a good couple months, like maybe 4 or 5, maybe 6 months, for it to be fully healed where it wasn't bothering me or anything like that. And then my next piercing that I got is my Midway Helix. This one, I was wanting to get one up here, up top, but because I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but because the way my ears are, they're not as open, so it was be a little bit harder to get it in there and whatnot. So they were able to find this spot right here to get it done. It was like, I think it was a little bit more painful than having my lobes pierced, for sure, because you are going through straight cartilage and whatnot. And the only problems I had with this one was that it was very sore to sleep on for, I don't know, let's say like a good month or two, maybe even a little bit longer, because I'm, turn lots at nighttime, so when you lie there you have to be really careful. Another thing that I didn't really think too much about was that it was more of like an impulse piercing, like I really wanted it, and then so I got it, but I didn't really think farther into it, and I didn't realize until afterwards, because I wear glasses, where my glasses sit, they sit right back against there, so the piercing, so the butterfly piercing part of it in the back, it kind of hits my glasses sometimes, but it's not like painful or bothersome. But also because I do have long hair, sometimes it will get a little bit caught just up top around here, but it doesn't happen all that often. There was no bleeding or anything. I didn't have any infection or anything like that. They all healed pretty well. Probably didn't even take not even 6 months to heal before it was fine, and it didn't really bother me. And my last piercing that I have is my tongue ring. I've had this one pierced about, I think, for about 6 years, yeah, 'cause I think I've had this one for about 7, maybe 8 years. And this tongue ring was a little more painful, of course, and I did have a lot of bleeding when I got it done. And again, this one was more of an impulse piercing again. Me and my friend, we had talked about tongue piercings, so I've always wanted one since I was about, say 11, I think. I always thought they were cool, something that I want when I get older, grow up, sort of thing. And then we were talking, and her birthday was coming up, and she talked about getting a tongue piercing, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. I've always wanted one. And we talked about maybe going in together to get one and stuff. But then the more we talked about it, the more the kind of like the bug or the itch kind of hit me, and I was like, oh, I kind of want to do it before then, I don't want to wait, So I went in, and I had all this adrenaline pumping through me, of course, and I went in, and they weren't able to get me in that day. The piercer, he wasn't able to come in, so they're like, oh, if you come in tomorrow, you can get it done. And I was feeling disappointed because I couldn't get it done that day, and I'm like, if I don't get it done today, I won't have that same urge or feeling to get it done. I'll be too chicken and back out. But then I showed up the next day, and I was like, oh yes, cool, let's do this, and whatever. And he pierced it, and I was so nervous and stuff, and he was trying to put it in, and he's like, hold your tongue still. And of course, when someone tells you to hold your tongue still, it's like literally impossible to do. And then he did it, and then it was sore when he was trying to like get it in, because I have short tongue, so it's like for him to hold on to it while doing it. And then my mouth was bleeding afterwards for quite a bit. It was probably about a good maybe 2-3 minutes, I was rinsing my mouth, and and he's like, oh, don't talk for an hour and whatever. So I'm like, okay, well, this is great, like I didn't really think too much about that part of it, even though I've done like tons of research, I guess I must have, skimmed over that part, you know, because they don't really talk too much about the fact that you shouldn't talk for an hour after you have it done. So, and then I left after that, and then went home, and then of course, you know, adrenaline's still rushing through me. I was excited. I called up my then boyfriend and was trying to talk to him, and told him, oh yeah, I got my tongue pierced, blah blah blah. And then I'm like, oh yeah, well, I'm at it talking to my boyfriend, you know, like since I told him, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna call Mom and tell her about it. So I called my mom, and my mom was in the middle of shopping when I told her, and I was slurring my words, and it was like totally terrible talking and stuff. But the healing process was bad for me in the aspect that it was painful, and I was constantly drooling. I had a spit cup that I kept on the side of my table. I was drooling so much that I had to constantly, like, literally get it out, or I would be, like, soaked and stuff. And I think I was taking ibuprofen, but because my tongue was sore and I couldn't, like, move it to swallow, it was a little bit harder. So I was drinking lots of cold water. I think I was doing ice cubes as well, which really helps. And I was doing soft foods. I think I did some mashed potatoes. I think I tried some soup, stuff like that. So eating was kind of a problem. And I did have a little bit of a lisp in the beginning, you know, which is normal when you pierce a tongue, because your tongue is what helps you to talk and stuff like that. But it didn't last that long. It was just because I was getting used to the feeling, sensation of the tongue ring being in my mouth. And it was about a month, I think it was a month later, when I tried, you know, like, eating, like, more solid foods, and I was trying to eat, like, spaghetti and stuff like that, and I couldn't, because it kind of, like, hurt my mouth. But it was, like, pretty much, you know, like, I want to eat more solid food, but, you know, you just gotta kind of, like, take it slow. So I was kind of getting it stuck in my tongue ring a little bit, and it was just so sore even after a month. I think it took me about 6 months, I think, for it to fully heal and stuff, which wasn't all too bad, which is kind of roughly what it is for, like, more intense piercings, you know. So, and then other than that, I didn't really have any, like, major problems. My tongue didn't, like, swell up, like, too much, you know. Didn't have any of those kind of problems, or I didn't have any infection or anything like that. I cleaned it with the sea salt, I think it was sea salt rinse anyways, cleaned it with that. I was very good about doing that. And it wasn't until, I think it was about a year ago, when I finally decided, oh yeah, I'm kind of feeling like I want to change my piercing out, and, like, take it out and change the barbell, not the barbell, but, you know, like, the balls and stuff like that, something different, cool, and stuff. And because I've had it for 6 years, so it was almost, this has been 6 years I've had it now, but last year was 5 years, and the balls were on so tight that I literally could not get them off. It took me probably, like, a good, I'd say maybe 10-15 minutes, maybe 20, to get it off. And then I got it off, and I was putting it on, and I'm still nervous about changing the balls and stuff. And then I ended up losing my original balls. I accidentally swallowed them. They came off when I was sleeping, and I accidentally swallowed them, so I changed them to different ones and had a hard time trying to get them to stay on. But I think I figured it out now. And I did have, my original balls were on the smaller side, and the ones that I did buy after that were a bit more larger, and I didn't it's hard to tell when you're comparing the balls, when you're looking straight at the counter, you know, and seeing what they have for size, and trying to compare it to the one that you have in your mouth, you know. So the ones I did get were a bit larger and stuff, and I was wearing those for a couple weeks this year, off and on. But then after I started having problems on the bottom part, like right here, underneath where it was getting sore, and I felt like it was hitting the roof of my mouth more often and just becoming really, really bothersome. And so I went back and I found some smaller ones, which you can see up here close. It's more of a smaller bar, and of course, because I kept changing my piercing in and out so often that it was starting to get irritated again and just really bothersome. But now that I've had this on, I've had it on for I would say a good couple months now, maybe 2 months now. I still have a larger one underneath. The one underneath doesn't seem to bother me. I don't feel it all as much, but the top one I feel more often and stuff, you know. But other than that, it doesn't really bother me anymore. I still have the same barbell that I started out with, which is a plastic one. I'm not one for metal or anything like that, because that can be damaging to your teeth and whatever, but it's been good. No major problems with it. My talking is fine. Some days I don't even notice it there, and my mind will kind of lapse and be like, oh right, I have a tongue piercing, you know, and I'll kind of play with it a little bit, move my tongue around, you know, and stuff like that. But I think that is about it for what I want to have for piercings. I thought about maybe eyebrow piercings, but not really sure about that. I did think about the brat piercings right there as well, but then I'm like, it's too close to my teeth and I don't really want cause any dental damage. And I thought about lip piercings, but I like my lips way too much because I think they look good, and I wouldn't want to ruin them with a scar or something, or, you know, and have it get in the way when you're eating or when you're trying to kiss your spouse or what have you.